So Senate File 2296 seeks to legislatively overturn a June 2021 Iowa Supreme Court decision in which our Iowa Supreme Court held that when a law enforcement officer seizes and searches a citizen's trash, which is set out for collection in accordance with local ordinances and in an opaque container, that warrantless search and seizure violates the Iowa Constitution's prohibition against unreasonable search and seizures. Or in simpler terms, in Iowa, under the Iowa Constitution, warrantless trash grabs are unconstitutional. This ruling was a big deal because our U.S. Supreme Court has held that warrantless trash grabs do not violate the federal Constitution's prohibition on unreasonable search and seizures. And up until last June, the Iowa Supreme Court went along with that federal case law. But when Mr. Wright appealed his conviction for misdemeanor possession of controlled substance, he asked the Iowa Supreme Court to consider whether the Iowa Constitution prohibited the trash pulls that had provided the probable cause for the search warrant that ultimately led to his conviction. And the Iowa Supreme Court did just that, and in a really well-researched and well-reasoned and well-written opinion, Justice McDonald, who was appointed to the Iowa Supreme Court by Governor Reynolds in 2019, Justice McDonald explains exactly why it is that Article 1, Section 8 of the Iowa Constitution prohibits warrantless garbage pulls. Now, I'll acknowledge that reasonable people can and do disagree as to whether Iowa citizens should have a protected liberty interest in their trash. But our state Supreme Court is the final arbiter as to the meaning and scope of the personal liberty protections that are, or personal liberty interests that are protected by our Iowa Constitution. And thus, as of July 18th of 2021, Iowa citizens do have a protected liberty interest in their trash. And this body does not have the legal authority to legislate that constitutionally protected liberty interest away. And you know that, right? I know you know that because in June of 2018, the Iowa Supreme Court held that under the Iowa Constitution, women have a fundamental right to an abortion. And a majority of this body disagreed with that holding, but you didn't pass a bill declaring that it is a public policy of this state that women do not have a fundamental right to an abortion, did you? You acknowledge that the only way to overturn an Iowa Supreme Court holding that is predicated on the court's interpretation of the Iowa Constitution is to amend the Iowa Constitution. And so last year, you passed House Joint Resolution 5, which seeks to do just that. And if next year's General Assembly passes HJR 5, and if a majority of Iowa citizens ratify HJR 5 in the 2024 general election, a woman's fundamental right to an abortion will be stripped out of the Iowa Constitution. That's how you take away a constitutional right. It's not easy, and it's not fast, and that's good. It shouldn't be easy to take away constitutionally protected liberty rights from Iowa citizens. Personally, I find it abhorrent that the majority party wants to take away a constitutionally protected liberty right, any constitutionally protected liberty right, even one that you may think is silly or ridiculous or doesn't make any sense, or you don't care if they look through your garbage. None of that matters. Our Supreme Court says this is a constitutionally protected liberty right, and if you want to strip it away from Iowans, you have to do the work and go through the steps to amend the Constitution. I'd just like to close with, I know some of these people say, well, it's a tool in our law enforcement's big old toolbox, and I get that, but here's what Justice McDonald says about that. The state contends that holding that the law enforcement officer's conduct violated the Iowa Constitution would result in the demise of trash grabs of personal trash containers. We do not question the utility of warrantless trash grabs for the purposes of law enforcement, but the utility of warrantless activity is not the issue under our Constitution. Obviously, Investigation of crime would always be simplified if warrants were unnecessary. The mere fact that law enforcement may be made more efficient can never, by itself, justify disregard of the Constitution. So I applaud our Iowa Constitution for, once again, expanding the scope of Iowans' personal liberty above and beyond what is granted to them by the federal Fourth Amendment. I think we all should applaud this ruling, and since this bill seeks to legislatively overturn this ruling, which is not actually something you can do, so in the end, this bill is going to be ruled unconstitutional, I would urge that you vote no. Thank you.